Morning, everybody. 9 a.m. Man, it's a good song, right? I mean, just start it. Let's get it. It's really good to be here, and I wanted to tell you that it was. Is my mic working? I can't hear it up here. Well, good. Listening to people yesterday was really cool, and it was because everybody came they're dealing with life in so many different ways. You know, it was really inspiring to me because, the topic that I'm going to talk about today, like there were so many different avenues that people went about dealing with this. It was crazy to me. And it made me think about my topic completely different. In fact, I rewrote the whole thing almost, used the same slides to what I'm doing today. So you're going to... You're gonna see some. I'm gonna have some notes up here and everything, but it's so I can make sure and stay on track. But man, I want you to know I really appreciated your input. It was really inspiring to me. But I'm going to talk a little bit today about about what my journey has been. And the title of this is A Hero's Journey. Is that what? Yeah. Well, right now, what I'm trying to do in my life is I'm trying to somehow, some way put things into perspective or put things into motion to be my hero in 10 years. And the material that I'm going to deliver to you today, it's going to be a big part of like me being a mentor to myself like 10 years ago. Like if I could have somebody tell me what I should be thinking and doing if I'm going to go through this journey, like I'm going to try to tell you a little bit about my journey. And so I'm going to start with like this crazy idea that I had to start my own company, almost 10 years ago. And I decided that, hey, let's go do this. I felt like my back was against the wall in a business that I was in. Some people talked about that last week, and so I went to my accountant and I said, hey, Gary, can you help me to try to set up a company? And he did. And so I was like, well, you've been in business for years, because he did accounting work for businesses. And so I started asking him all these questions. And I would tell him all of the things that I was concerned about. Trust me, I had plenty. Like, I had every cotton-picking thing that you could think of to be scared about, and I presented it to him. And so I went home that night, and then I was like, man, I really want to meet with you again. And you could tell he's kind of reluctant on the phone. And so I met with him again. I listened to all my fears again. All right, my wife was in this meeting. I swear to you, this is what he said. He's like, listen, Cory, you would be a horrible businessman, and I do not think you should do this. Like, you're scared of everything, and you're so concerned about these things that I don't think that there's any way you're going to move forward. And this was the thing that killed me. He's like, I think your wife would be a lot better than you would. Right there in front of me, and it ticked me off, It really ticked me off. And so let's see if this thing works here. The next day, I started my dadgum business. And here's part of my journey. I want to share this with you. I think I got something for somebody here. God's told me I have something for somebody here today. Fear is the top reason why people don't go do a lot of things that they could go do. It's a reason why people don't reach a lot of the potential that they could possibly do. It just stops you. And the thing is 90% of the things that we fear, like, they're generally insignificant issues. That's what ends up happening, And 60% of those things that are feared, like, they're not even going to happen. Has anybody ever been up late at night and you're sitting there thinking about all these things that are going to happen? You're like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. And like worst case scenarios just keep going through your daggum head. You can't stop it. And then you wake up the next morning and it's really not nearly as bad as what you thought. And you move on, and it just kind of works its way out. Well, I got lucky because about 5 years in, I got the opportunity to meet with some people that were way above me in business. Because before, when I started, no one wanted to mentor me. I asked a lot of people, no one would do it. But once I started seeing a certain level of success, I got the opportunity to meet with some people I never dreamt that I would be around. There are some of them that, some of these guys, like if I mentioned to you what they did, you would automatically have respect for them. Like, it's astounding that I had the ability to meet with them. One dude, right over there. I'm really grateful that I met Jeff. Learned a lot of stuff from Jeff. But this is what I learned from these dudes, okay? The higher levels, I mean, a big majority of them are multimillionaires, okay? This is what I learned. They all deal with this just as much or if not more than I did. I couldn't believe it. I honestly thought that I was the only one that dealt with this, and that people that at this level never, they had this magical little formula thing that just worked for them. And there were some of these guys that they just dealt with it way more than I did, and I couldn't believe it. And so I started to realize fear's not always a bad thing. You know what I mean? In my business, remember when the Affordable Care Act happened? All right, well, a big majority of my business staff's in the medical community. All right, it just slashed the medical community's profits by 20% all in one day. And so some kind of weird fear in my head said, hey, listen, when they pass that thing, you better be careful. And so that next year, our business in the medical field dropped by a third. But yet I decided, hey, we need to start a new division here in the accounting and banking industries. We doubled in size. Fear's not always a bad thing. In fact, a long time ago, the caveman, like he had to deal with whatever this thing is right here, you know? And he would get killed by it, but he probably made some kind of weird spear or something like that, and he figured out a way not only to defend himself from it, and probably move into a cave or whatever, but the thing is, somebody was talking about the other day about how your subconscious mind is like geared to work to protect you. All right, well, that's kind of why we all experience this to some extent. But the thing is, that's why we're here. Like, it works for you if you'll let it work for you. And really, fear doesn't ever show up in areas of your life that do not matter. If you have a healthy viewpoint of fear, if you can kind of decide what's healthy and what's not, like, it matters. And so what I'm saying is that if you're experiencing something in a certain area, you're probably moving in the right direction. You get that? It stinks, it's hard, but you're most likely going where you need to be going. You know, I took my daughter the other day. We're going to Silver Dollar City, and let me talk to the fathers out here, and I'm going to go too long with this, I guarantee you. But when you get your daughter and she hits the height limit to get on the big time roller coasters, that's a moment. So you get to go, so if you can talk them into it, right? You go from being that dad that has to spend the whole day in the kiddie section watching merry-go-rounds go around to getting some action. You know what I'm saying? Is there any dad in here that has monumental moments? All right. So I'm a salesman, okay? So I spent the entire week previously talking to my daughter about how talking her into doing this roller coaster thing, right? And I bribed her with a big teddy bear. And so, but she was scared of it, and I knew she'd be scared of it because I remembered that I was scared of the big roller coasters too when I went on them. And so in her mind, rolling up to the roller coaster, she was just going. It's just, her imagination was going crazy with how bad this thing was going to be, you know? She was looking at it, and it takes off 0 to 60. All right, here's when we're on this roller coaster, right? And I'm telling you guys, okay, you can't see her. She's right here. But I'm telling you, her brain's going nuts. And her imagination thinks that this thing is going to be awful. It's going to be really, really bad, right? And so we go through the roller coaster, and this is just a second after she gets off the thing, and she is so excited. She's like, Dad, let's go again. All right. So I went from, my deal with her is you have to ride 3 big roller coasters with me, and you get a stuffed animal, right? And, man, I rode them all day long. So what I'm saying is, all right, our imagination sometimes takes us into crazy land. And some people live their lives like my daughter feels right now as one big, huge false alarm. And many of you guys in here are either starting a business or you're in your first year. That's the toughest part for me, was the first year. And I want you to know that some of the things, that's why God told me to come here today, that some of the things that you're imagining, it's not nearly as bad as what you think that it might be. And we're going to go into some really good stuff with that a little bit later on. But the thing is, man, don't live your life as one big false alarm. And there are many people who do that, and there might be someone in this room like that, and if not, you probably know someone that's like that. So if you allow this imagination to go on, it'll drive you crazy. So you have to learn to manage your imagination, or your imagination will start to manage you. If you allow this to happen, fear is going to creep into your life, and it's going to strip you of your confidence, your self-worth, your potential, your strength, your growth. You can go on and on and on, but here's the problem, guys. It replaces it with insecurity, doubt, confusion, weakness, and you can name a lot of other things that go on. The thing is, people deal with fear in many different ways. I say 3 are the key reasons that they do this, or the way people use it. People use it as fuel. It's the way the caveman kept us alive. Many businessmen use their fear as fuel. It will take you to the moon. It will protect you in ways that you will never imagine it. And it will give you a drive that is unlike anything else. The ice cream guy, he's back there in the back. Hey, bud. He said, you know, the more scared I got, the harder I worked, and the luckier I got, right? That is how this fear thing, the first one, use it as fuel. The second thing is some people fuel the fear with their thoughts. So they have the fear, and they just crank thoughts in there, making their imagination go crazy. Some people probably did it last night, and it takes you into crazy land to where you're living your life as one big false alarm. But the third one, this is the worst. This is the worst. Trust me. I think Satan uses this, okay, when you're right here, and that it allows it to just paralyze you where you do nothing. Some of you know people that it does this to. If you're sitting in this room and you're launching out, you're probably not one of those guys. But, all right, Satan uses when you're just drifting and you have the fear and you slowly drift. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Slowly drift, right? And the thing is, you have to be conscious in your thoughts and take it to a different place. Recognize that it's there. So you have to manage your perspective too. Your perspective and your imagination are very, very key. Fear changes your perspective. Okay? But your perspective can change your fear. You got to switch that around and make it to work for you. Because you change your perspective and you change your imagination and you manage those two things, you're going to start changing your circumstances. We talked about this a lot, and I think the guy's name was David, did a really great job of illustrating how the voice works. But I've got this pesky thing in my head that will not go away. It never goes away. It does not stop. It's loud like you'll never believe. And it says stuff like this, like sometimes 100 times a day. You suck. You're not going to be good at that. somebody else is probably a lot better at that than you. That idea that you had, everyone in the room thought that sucked. He illustrated it perfectly. It just goes on. But here's the thing. You have to know what that is, recognize what that is, and identify it as unreliable. I mentioned that in my belief system, this is Satan's way. It says that he's here to lie, steal, and destroy. Right? King lies. You have to put it where it is. It's the biggest, most untruthful thing that you'll deal with. And you have to start being able to tell yourself the truth and know what the truth is. And for some people in this room, and for me, some of that truth is in the Word of God. You know? But you've got to stop listening to the lies and start listening to the truth. Or else this voice will change who you are. Like it just does. And it happens so slowly. And it happens when you drift. And it just stinks. And I hate it. But I'm here to tell you that success, okay, and fear in my journey in dealing with this and going through business and hitting the success that I have, all right, they go together. They just go together and they never leave each other. It's like they're neighbors and they borrow each other's stuff all the time. Like they just go together. And so I need you to know this one thing, okay? Your vision is limited. Your viewpoint is limited, I promise you. If you were to look out in the stars tonight, the most that our human eyes can see is roughly 4,500 stars. That's all we can see. But if we were to go get a pair of binoculars, okay, we're going to be able to see roughly about 100,000 stars. The reason is because our human thing, like our eyeballs are only so big and we can only accept so much light. But when we get a pair of binoculars, it allows us to accept a lot more light. Our human, it just limits us, our human abilities. You go get a telescope, you're going to see 1 million of these stars. And I don't know how much of you can see this, because I can barely see it, but this is way beyond the telescope. So let's take just a second to watch this if you can see it. I hope you can out there. Let me walk you through this. This is backing out from Earth, and I'm sorry you can't see it. And it is backing out through our solar system. You're going to have to look really close because I know it's very difficult to see it. I think it's these lights right here that's keeping it. We're backing out. We're going like this is past another solar system. There we go. Let's watch this real quick. So here's the thing. In my business and in my experience, my vision has always been limited. I never got the opportunity to see, and when I looked down the road about 5 years, I got to see what God was doing. Okay? If you believe like me, your partner created that. Your vision is limited. If you're struggling, okay, and you don't understand things, your partner is God. And it says in Scripture that He'll allow you to stumble, but He's not ever going to let you fall. Okay? Remember who your partner is as you're going through some of this, because I know that there are some of the people that I heard, this is why I changed my speech a little bit. We've got a lot of people starting right now, and we have a lot of people that are in about their first year, and there's a lot of uncertainty that comes. I'm still dealing with it myself, trust me. But I want you to know that the Creator that makes this is the one that helps you, and you're in good hands. Thank you so much today.